In a Reddit thread that caught fire, one veteran of the entertainment business, boasting over 40 years in Hollywood, dropped a striking claim. Most of the people he's worked with are either openly gay or quietly closeted. His comment wasn't meant as gossip, but as a reminder of something insiders have known for decades. From the silent film era of Rudolph Valentino to today's blockbuster stars, queerness has always been part of the industry's story, even if it wasn't always safe to show. But here's the twist. While some stars have embraced their identity publicly, others keep it carefully guarded, protecting careers, reputations, or simply their private lives. So that begs the question, when you look at your favorite actors and icons, how many might actually be hiding a truth they don't feel ready to share? Today, we're diving into the names, the rumors, and the confirmed stories. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, the action hero, with a hidden side? When you think of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, you picture the ultimate action hero, larger-than-life roles, a global fan base, and a reputation as one of Hollywood's most bankable stars. But behind that polished image, whispers have followed him for years. Some insiders claim The Rock might be living a life far more private than people realize. His only high-profile relationship was with Dany Garcia, his college sweetheart and wife of 9 years. Their split in 2008 was remarkably drama-free, and instead of fading into the background, Garcia became his business partner and even his PR manager. Since then, despite being one of the world's most eligible bachelors, Johnson hasn't been publicly tied to other women in any meaningful way. That silence has fueled speculation about whether he could be keeping another truth under wraps. Adding fuel to the rumors, The Rock has long championed LGBTQ+ rights, urging others in Hollywood to live authentically at a time when it wasn't always popular to do so. Some argue his support is simply the mark of a good ally. Others believe it's a subtle signal of solidarity. In the wrestling and action film world, where macho branding sells, being a bachelor and keeping things private might even be a strategic choice. Whether rumor or reality, The Rock's story reminds us how complicated identity and image can be in Hollywood. Ralf Schumacher, breaking barriers in Formula One. Ralf Schumacher may always be known as the younger brother of 7-time world champion Michael Schumacher, but in 2023, he made headlines for a very different reason. At 49, the former Formula One driver publicly acknowledged his relationship with French businessman Etienne, sharing a heartfelt Instagram post that read, "The most beautiful thing in life is when you have the right partner by your side with whom you can share everything." Though he didn't issue a formal press statement, his words and the photograph that accompanied them spoke volumes. Fellow German actor Carmen Geiss praised the announcement as a powerful act of liberation, noting that such honesty had taken years to embrace. For motorsports, a world often painted as hyper-masculine and traditional, Schumacher's decision was groundbreaking. It marked one of the most high-profile coming-outs in racing history and aligned with Formula One's push for diversity and inclusion. His courage resonates beyond the racetrack, reminding fans that authenticity is not just about personal happiness, but also about setting an example in spaces where representation has been scarce. But here's the question for you. Will Ralf Schumacher's decision inspire more athletes in traditionally macho sports to live openly, or will he remain a rare exception in the high-octane world of racing? Tom Cruise, Hollywood's most persistent rumor. Few names in Hollywood draw more speculation than Tom Cruise. For decades, he has been both one of the world's most famous movie stars and one of the most private. Much of the chatter about his sexuality stems from his 3 highly publicized divorces from Mimi Rogers, Nicole Kidman, and Katie Holmes. Tabloids often argue that the short timelines and sudden endings of these marriages signal something hidden. Add to that his long-standing ties to Scientology, a religion known for secrecy, and the rumor mill has never stopped turning. Yet Cruise has consistently pushed back. In the early 2000s, he sued a British tabloid and even a porn actor who falsely claimed to have been involved with him, winning both cases. He has repeatedly said the rumors are baseless and take attention away from his craft. Still, public curiosity lingers, partly because Cruise is a superstar who performs his own stunts and controls his image tightly. When someone remains that guarded, people fill in the blanks. But here's the bigger question. Does the public have the right to pry into a celebrity's private life simply because they're famous? Or should we accept that sometimes mystery is just part of the performance? Keanu Reeves. The mystery of his private life. Keanu Reeves has been called the Internet's boyfriend, largely because of his kindness, humility, and refusal to play by Hollywood's rules. In the 1990s, however, his silence about his personal life sparked endless rumors. Some tabloids speculated about a connection to music mogul David Geffen, though no evidence ever surfaced. Reeves never engaged with the gossip, instead throwing himself into work and staying almost monk-like in his privacy. What made speculation worse was his performance in My Own Private Idaho, where he convincingly played a bisexual character. Fans and critics blurred lines between role and reality, interpreting his choices as a hint at hidden truth. But Reeves never confirmed or denied anything. He simply lived quietly until in 2019 he stepped onto a red carpet with artist Alexandra Grant, confirming a long-term relationship. That moment softened years of speculation, but didn't erase the sense of mystery that still surrounds him. For many, Reeves is proof that you don't have to explain everything. He has shown that privacy can be part of a star's appeal, especially in a culture that demands constant oversharing. What do you think? Should Reeves be praised for protecting his boundaries, or does his silence only fuel the very rumors he seems determined to avoid? Hugh Jackman, Broadway, bonding, and endless speculation. Hugh Jackman has long balanced two careers, tough guy action hero in X-Men and charismatic song and dance man on Broadway. That versatility has fueled speculation about his sexuality for years. When he played the flamboyant Australian singer Peter Allen in The Boy from Oz, his chemistry with male co-stars blurred reality and performance in the public eye. Add to that his close friendships in the industry and his marriage to Deborah Lee Furness, who is older than him, and tabloids had all the ingredients for gossip. Jackman, however, takes the chatter in stride. He has openly laughed about the rumors, even saying he finds them flattering. His wife has also addressed the speculation, dismissing it with humor and affection. What stands out is that Jackman has been consistent. He champions LGBTQ+ colleagues, chooses roles that highlight diversity, and avoids defensive reactions. To him, the whispers seem more like a commentary on Hollywood's stereotypes than on his actual life. In truth, Jackman's story reveals more about audience bias than about him. Why do people assume that playing gay on stage or being close with male friends must signal something hidden? The deeper question is whether Hollywood is still stuck in rigid ideas of masculinity. What do you think? Are we guilty of projecting our own assumptions onto stars like Jackman, or is he simply proof that authenticity takes many forms? Jake Gyllenhaal. Brokeback legacy and lingering questions. Jake Gyllenhaal's career has been defined by his ability to move between blockbuster hits and daring indie roles. But nothing shaped public perception more than his performance in Brokeback Mountain. His portrayal of Jack Twist helped normalize LGBTQ+ love stories in mainstream cinema and earned him both acclaim and curiosity. Off-screen, though, Gyllenhaal has faced his own swirl of speculation. In one interview, he famously said, "I've never really been attracted to men sexually, but I don't think I'd be afraid of it if it happened." For some fans, that sounded like a confession disguised as a casual remark. Add to that his affectionate friendships with male colleagues like Tom Holland and Austin Nichols, plus a string of high-profile but relatively brief relationships with women including Kirsten Dunst, Reese Witherspoon, and Taylor Swift, and you get a recipe for rumors. Yet Gyllenhaal has never confirmed or engaged with the chatter. Instead, he focuses on his work and his role as an ally. He has spoken proudly about how Brokeback Mountain shifted Hollywood's willingness to tell queer stories, describing it as one of the most important projects of his career. Still, some wonder, does his openness to queerness signal hidden truths, or is it simply proof that straight actors can support and portray LGBTQ+ roles with empathy? Cooper Koch, young actor, owning his identity. Cooper Koch may be early in his career, but he has already proven himself fearless, both in the roles he chooses and in his willingness to live authentically. Known for his work in They Them, Swallowed, and Netflix's Menendez series, Koch has embraced queer characters and stories with depth and conviction. Off-screen, he has always been open about being gay, a choice that sets him apart in an industry where many young actors are told to keep quiet. Koch has admitted the challenges of being honest from the start. He once recalled an acting coach warning him that his gay voice might limit the roles he could land. Rather than retreat, he leaned into his identity, proving that talent and authenticity could coexist. His role in They Them confronted the horrors of conversion therapy, while Swallowed combined queer themes with horror, showing his range and commitment to bold projects. His portrayal of Eric Menendez brought him into mainstream attention, demonstrating he could carry weighty, complex roles. What makes Koch compelling is his refusal to play by old Hollywood rules. For him, being open is not a liability, but an advantage. Still, the question remains, will Hollywood reward his honesty with long-term opportunity, or will the industry's lingering biases make authenticity a harder path to success? Jerrod Carmichael. Comedy meets courage. Jerrod Carmichael has always been sharp, funny, and unafraid to tackle uncomfortable truths. But in 2022, during his HBO comedy special Nathaniel, he took a leap that changed everything. He came out as gay on stage, weaving his personal history and family struggles into his set. It was raw, vulnerable, and groundbreaking, turning comedy into a vehicle for liberation. The reaction was immediate. Audiences praised his courage, critics called it transformative, and Carmichael himself said he finally felt free. From there, his career exploded into new territory. He hosted Saturday Night Live, emceed the Golden Globes with biting wit, and starred in the Oscar-winning film Poor Things. He also directed and co-wrote On the Count of Three, a dark comedy drama that showcased his depth as both a filmmaker and performer. But Carmichael hasn't shied away from the costs. He's spoken openly about strained family ties and the difficulty of living with secrecy for so long. His story is both inspiring and sobering, a reminder that visibility comes with both triumph and tension. So here's the debate. Should artists like Carmichael be applauded for turning their private lives into public performances? Or is it unfair that queer entertainers often feel pressured to make identity part of their act? Andrew Scott, the hot priest, and proudly gay Andrew Scott has never shied away from complex roles. From the chillingly brilliant Moriarty in Sherlock to the unforgettable hot priest in Fleabag, he's made a career out of characters that live in the gray spaces of human behavior. Off-screen, though, Scott is remarkably straightforward about who he is. In 2013, he casually confirmed in an interview that he was gay, saying it was simply a fact, neither a virtue nor a flaw. That kind of matter-of-fact honesty resonated with audiences tired of Hollywood secrecy. His career since then has thrived. In 2024, he starred in All of Us Strangers, a deeply emotional story about love and grief that earned critical acclaim and showcased his range. What's remarkable is that Scott doesn't see being gay as the headline of his identity. He has said labels like openly gay can feel reductive, preferring to be judged by the roles he plays rather than the categories he fits into. Still, his visibility matters. For younger actors and fans, seeing someone succeed while living authentically is powerful. Scott's balance, openness without oversharing, shows there are many ways to be true to yourself. The question is, does his approach prove we've entered a healthier era of representation, or does the industry still expect queer actors to carry the burden of visibility? Jonathan Bailey, Bridgerton's leading man, with a message. Jonathan Bailey became a household name with Netflix's Bridgerton, where his portrayal of Anthony Bridgerton combined charisma, vulnerability, and depth. But his off-screen story is just as compelling. In his 20s, Bailey came out to family and friends, even though he had been warned that doing so could damage his career. The fear was real. Agents and executives once told him that being open could cost him leading roles. Instead of shrinking, Bailey doubled down on authenticity. His choice paid off. Beyond Bridgerton, he has showcased his range in Fellow Travelers and will soon appear in the film adaptation of Wicked as Fiyero. Off-screen, Bailey keeps his personal life relatively private, but he has confirmed being in a relationship with a lovely man. He often speaks about the importance of honesty, saying that authenticity is worth more than any role. Bailey's story reflects a generational shift. Younger actors are increasingly unwilling to hide, even when the stakes are high. That courage has made Bailey not just a star, but a role model. But here's the question. Does his success signal that Hollywood has truly changed, or is Bailey thriving because he is talented enough to overcome a system that still penalizes many others for the same honesty? Richard Armitage, coming out after years in the spotlight. Richard Armitage built his career on powerful, often brooding roles, most famously as Thorin Oakenshield in the Hobbit trilogy. But for much of his career, he kept one part of himself private. Though out to close friends and family since his late teens, Armitage didn't publicly address his sexuality until 2023. When he finally did, it wasn't with a flashy announcement, but with quiet acknowledgement in interviews, including confirmation that he has a male partner whose identity he protects. Armitage explained that his choice to stay private for so long came from a desire to be judged on his work rather than labels. Still, he admitted the decision was also shaped by fear. Growing up, he was bullied for being perceived as gay, and those experiences left lasting scars. Speaking openly later in life became a way of reclaiming his story. His honesty hasn't hurt his career. If anything, it's deepened his connection with fans. In Obsession and Red Eye, he showed his versatility, proving that being authentic doesn't limit roles. Armitage's journey highlights how slow progress can be in Hollywood, where even talented, established actors often wait decades to speak freely. What do you think? Should we see his late-life openness as proof of change, or as evidence that true acceptance in the industry still comes painfully late? Joe Locke, from Heartstopper to Marvel. Joe Locke's rise has been nothing short of meteoric. As Charlie Spring in Netflix's Heartstopper, he captured the awkward, tender journey of queer adolescence in a way that resonated worldwide. But Locke's story began years earlier. At just 12, he came out on Instagram in a post he quickly deleted, admitting later that he wasn't ready for the weight of going public. Over time, he told friends and family, most of whom already knew. By the time Heartstopper aired, Locke was comfortable enough to embrace the label publicly. In 2024, he joined the Marvel Universe as Billy Maximoff, also known as Wiccan, a character with strong LGBTQ+ roots in the comics. For many fans, Locke's casting felt like more than just a role. It was a symbol of progress, placing an openly gay actor in a beloved superhero franchise. Though he guards his private life carefully, Locke has used his platform to advocate for visibility and acceptance, especially for queer youth. Locke's story shows the power of representation at a young age. But it also raises an important question. Does coming out early help normalize identity for a new generation? Or does it put unfair pressure on young stars to define themselves before they're ready? Omar Apollo, turning music into advocacy. Omar Apollo's music blends R&B, pop, and Latin influences, but it's his authenticity that makes him unforgettable. Born Omar Apollonio Velasco, he built his career on platforms like SoundCloud before breaking through with hits like Evergreen. By 2022, he confirmed his sexuality in a witty Twitter post, "No IB, this way for real," transforming fan speculation into a moment of pride and humor. Apollo has since become both a charting artist and a cultural figure. His Grammy-nominated album Ivory tackled themes of love and heartbreak, many from a queer perspective. In 2024, he made his film debut in Luca Guadagnino's Queer, cementing his place not just as a musician, but as a multidimensional artist. What sets Apollo apart is his casual approach to coming out. He didn't stage a dramatic announcement. Instead, he used humor and authenticity to disarm critics and connect with fans. That honesty has made him a role model, particularly for Latinx audiences who rarely see openly queer stars at his level of success. The bigger question is, does Apollo's laid-back openness mark a healthier future for queer celebrities, or do audiences still expect every coming-out story to be a dramatic declaration? Ncuti Gatwa, breaking ground as Doctor Who. Ncuti Gatwa first won hearts as Eric Effiong in Sex Education, a character who became a global symbol of queer resilience and joy. But in 2023, Gatwa himself publicly identified as queer, explaining that he had never really been in the closet. He simply preferred to navigate identity on his own terms. His openness was celebrated, but it was his next role that cemented his place in history, becoming the first black and openly queer actor to play the Doctor in Doctor Who. That casting was more than just representation. It was revolutionary for one of the longest-running shows in television history. Gatwa has said that playing Eric helped him embrace his own journey, proving how art can shape real life. His charisma, warmth, and fearless performances continue to inspire a new generation of fans. Still, the milestone raises tough questions. Does Gatwa's success prove television is finally embracing real diversity? Or is it still treated as headline-worthy progress precisely because the industry has so far to go? Either way, Gatwa's story is proof that authentic representation matters and that barriers once broken can never be rebuilt. Kit Connor, pressured into coming out. Kit Connor quickly became a fan favorite thanks to Netflix's Heartstopper, where his portrayal of Nick Nelson, a bisexual teenager coming to terms with himself, felt deeply authentic. But the irony is that while the show celebrated acceptance, Connor himself faced an uncomfortable reality: intense online speculation. Fans dissected his every move, accusing him of queer baiting for playing a bisexual role while not labeling himself publicly. In October 2022, at just 18, Connor tweeted in frustration, "I'm bi. Congrats for forcing an 18-year-old to out himself." His announcement sparked debate worldwide. Many saw it as a heartbreaking reminder of how celebrity culture can pressure young stars to reveal personal truths before they're ready. Since then, Connor has spoken about the importance of boundaries and respecting privacy. He continues to shine in Heartstopper and is now regarded as a strong advocate for authentic queer storytelling. Connor's story highlights both the progress and the pitfalls of modern representation. On one hand, young actors have more support than ever before. On the other, fan pressure and social media speculation can feel suffocating. So here's the question. Are audiences helping visibility by pushing for clarity, or are they crossing into harmful territory when they demand labels from people still figuring things out? Noah Schnapp, Stranger Things, and real-life parallels. Noah Schnapp's journey mirrors his most famous character in uncanny ways. As Will Byers in Stranger Things, he portrayed a boy whose identity and struggles with sexuality became a major storyline. Off-screen, Schnapp was grappling with similar feelings. In January 2023, he posted a TikTok that said, "When I finally told my friends and family I was gay after being scared in the closet for 18 years, and all they said was, 'We know.'" The casual, humorous tone of his reveal resonated instantly with millions. What made the moment even more powerful was how closely it paralleled Will's own arc in Stranger Things. Fans celebrated the overlap, saying it blurred the lines between art and life in the best possible way. Beyond acting, Schnapp balances his growing career with studies at the Wharton School of Business, proving that identity is only one part of who he is. Schnapp's story illustrates how Gen Z approaches coming out, with humor, relatability, and little need for dramatics. But it also raises an interesting question. Does tying an actor's real identity so closely to their fictional roles empower them, or does it risk limiting the kinds of stories they'll be allowed to tell in the future? Gage, From Euphoria to a Whirlwind Marriage. Gage's star has risen quickly thanks to bold performances in Euphoria, The White Lotus, and You. But it's his personal life that has often stolen headlines. In 2023, after a whirlwind romance with celebrity hairstylist Chris Appleton, the two tied the knot in Las Vegas. The ceremony, officiated by Kim Kardashian and featuring a performance by Shania Twain, seemed like a fairy tale. 6 months later, however, the marriage ended. Gage later admitted it was the product of a manic episode. Long before the flashy wedding, Gage had already spoken publicly about his sexuality. On a podcast in 2024, he revealed how he struggled in early auditions, often feeling pressure to hide parts of himself. That openness helped him redefine what authenticity means in Hollywood: messy, imperfect, and real. While some criticized the highly publicized marriage and breakup as chaotic, others praised Gage for refusing to sanitize his truth. He reminds fans that queer representation isn't always tidy. It's human. But here's the debate. Do stars like Gage help normalize the ups and downs of queer relationships, or do high-profile breakups risk reinforcing old stereotypes about instability? Karan Brar, Disney star, finds his truth. Karan Brar grew up on screen, first charming audiences as Ravi Ross in Disney Channel's Jessie, and later appearing in the Diary of a Wimpy Kid films. For many fans, he was the picture of youthful energy and humor. But behind the scenes, Brar struggled with mental health, grief, and identity. In 2023, he published a heartfelt essay in Teen Vogue where he came out as bisexual, describing the long road that led him to self-acceptance. Brar revealed that he had first come out privately to close friends, including the late Cameron Boyce, during a vulnerable night of heavy drinking. Boyce's acceptance, followed by his tragic passing, became a turning point for Brar. He admitted that hiding his sexuality only worsened his struggles, and embracing his truth became essential for healing. Since then, Brar has become an advocate for mental health awareness and LGBTQ+ representation. His story highlights the double challenge of growing up as a child star, navigating fame while also discovering who you are. Fans praised his honesty, seeing in him a relatable figure who shows that vulnerability can be strength. But here's the question. Does Hollywood now offer enough support for young actors to live openly, or do stars like Brar succeed in spite of a system that still clings to old prejudices? Calum Scott, a song that became a coming-out story. Calum Scott first stunned the world on Britain's Got Talent in 2015 with his moving performance of Dancing on My Own. The audition became one of the show's most memorable moments and launched his career as a singer-songwriter. But it was his own music that truly revealed his personal journey. In 2018, Scott released No Matter What, a deeply emotional single recounting the experience of coming out. The song described both the unconditional love of his mother and the heartbreak of losing friends who couldn't accept him. The honesty of no matter what struck a chord worldwide, turning it into an anthem for authenticity and resilience. Since then, Scott has built a successful career with hits like You Are the Reason and his debut album, Only Human. He has also become a proud advocate for LGBTQ+ rights, using his platform to inspire acceptance. Scott's story shows how music can transform pain into power, creating a bridge between personal struggle and public healing. But it also raises an important point. When artists pour their private lives into their work, does it help normalize queer experiences, or does it risk reducing deeply personal struggles to entertainment? Hunter Doohan, Love and Marriage in the Spotlight. Hunter Doohan may be a newer name in Hollywood, but his impact is undeniable. After breakout performances in Your Honor alongside Bryan Cranston and Netflix's smash hit Wednesday, Doohan quickly became one of the most promising young actors of his generation. Beyond the screen, however, his personal life has also become a source of inspiration. In June 2022, he married producer Fielder Jewett, sharing their joyful wedding photos on social media. The images went viral, celebrated as a beautiful symbol of queer love and authenticity. Doohan has spoken openly about how representation matters, especially for young fans who see themselves reflected in his characters. His willingness to live authentically while his career is still rising marks a bold step in an industry where many wait until later in life. He blends professional momentum with unapologetic openness, showing that both can coexist. But Doohan's story also raises questions about Hollywood's future. Will more actors follow his lead and openly celebrate queer relationships at the height of their careers? Or will many still feel pressured to stay silent until they are established enough to risk it? His example suggests change is possible, but not yet guaranteed. Zane Phillips, Fire Island, and expanding queer narratives. Zane Phillips has become a standout voice for queer visibility in Hollywood. His breakthrough came with Hulu's Fire Island, a modern retelling of Pride and Prejudice set in a gay vacation community. In the film, Phillips played a confident, charming character who challenged stereotypes and gave audiences a new kind of romantic lead. He's also appeared in Legacies, showing his range across genres. What makes Phillips compelling is his openness. He doesn't shy away from his identity and has spoken about how much it means to portray queer characters authentically. Rather than avoiding typecasting, he leans into roles that celebrate LGBTQ+ stories, proving that representation can be layered and compelling. Fans praise him for bringing depth and dignity to characters that might otherwise have been reduced to cliches. Phillips's career is still on the rise, but he already embodies a new generation of actors unafraid to live authentically while chasing mainstream success. The question for audiences and industry insiders alike is this: will Hollywood treat actors like Phillips as trailblazers for long-term change, or are studios still at risk of treating inclusive casting as a temporary trend rather than a permanent shift? Dino Fetscher, Theater Roots and Advocacy. Dino Fetscher may not yet be a global household name, but his resume shows remarkable dedication to both craft and representation. Born in Cardiff, Wales, Fetscher trained in theater before breaking into television with roles in Humans and Banana. But it was his work in The Normal Heart, Larry Kramer's iconic AIDS-era play, that solidified his reputation. His portrayal earned him a 2022 Olivier Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor, marking him as one of the most promising actors of his generation. Fetscher has been open about being gay from early in his career and has used that visibility to advocate for more authentic representation in the arts. He often speaks about the importance of showing queer lives in all their diversity: joy, pain, resilience, and everything in between. His willingness to be outspoken, even while still building his career, has made him an inspiration for aspiring artists who see him as proof that honesty and success can coexist. The bigger question is whether Hollywood listens to voices like his. Do actors who speak up early help drive real change, or does the industry only start paying attention once a star has already made it big? Sir Ian McKellen, a legend, on and off the screen. Sir Ian McKellen is more than just one of the greatest actors of his time. He is also one of the most influential LGBTQ+ advocates in the world. Known globally for his roles as Gandalf in The Lord of the Rings and Magneto in X-Men, McKellen's legacy goes far beyond the screen. In 1988, at the height of his career, he came out as gay during a BBC interview, motivated by his opposition to Section 28, a UK law that sought to ban the promotion of homosexuality. That decision was revolutionary. At a time when few public figures dared to be open, McKellen chose honesty, later co-founding Stonewall, the UK's leading LGBTQ+ rights organization. He has since become a mentor and role model for countless younger actors, showing that being openly gay is not a barrier to global success. McKellen has spoken often about the joy he felt after coming out, even joking, "I feel sorry for anyone who isn't gay." His story is a reminder that authenticity can be liberating, not limiting. Still, his stature raises a question. Was his triumph a sign that Hollywood had truly changed, or was it possible only because his talent was so undeniable that the industry had no choice but to embrace him? Nicholas Hamilton, quiet strength in Hollywood. Nicholas Hamilton first grabbed attention as Henry Bowers, the terrifying bully in Stephen King's It films. Off-screen, though, his personality couldn't be more different. Thoughtful, creative, and quietly authentic. Born in New South Wales, Australia, Hamilton moved into Hollywood with steady determination, appearing in Captain Fantastic and later expanding into music as well as acting. When it comes to identity, Hamilton has taken a low-key approach. He hasn't staged a dramatic coming-out moment, but he's spoken openly online about his support for LGBTQ+ rights and his own journey of self-discovery. Fans have noticed his candid posts and reflections, which hint at his comfort with being himself without needing to make it a headline. For younger audiences, that subtle honesty has been powerful. It shows that you can be visible without being loud, and authentic without needing validation from tabloids. Hamilton's career is still blossoming, and his example suggests a new model for representation, one where living authentically doesn't require a carefully planned announcement, but simply a willingness to be yourself. The question is, in a culture that craves viral moments, will quiet representation like Hamilton's be enough to shift public perception? Or do audiences still expect big declarations to believe a star is truly being honest? Jack Dylan Grazer, Gen Z, star owning. His bisexuality. Jack Dylan Grazer is part of a new wave of Gen Z actors who refuse to play by Hollywood's old rules. Best known for his roles as Eddie Kaspbrak in It, Freddie Freeman in Shazam, and as the voice of Alberto in Pixar's Luca, Grazer has proven his range across genres. But what really made headlines came not from a film, but from an Instagram Live in 2021. In the middle of chatting with fans, he casually declared he was bisexual, punctuating it with the playful catchphrase, "Silencio Bruno," from Luca. The moment was spontaneous, joyful, and distinctly modern, reflecting how Gen Z treats sexuality less as a dramatic revelation and more as a casual fact of life. Fans celebrated his authenticity, praising him for normalizing bisexuality with humor and confidence. Since then, Grazer has continued to build his career without letting the label define him, showing that young stars can thrive while being open. Grazer's story highlights a generational shift. Where older actors feared typecasting or scandal, today's rising talents see identity as just one part of who they are. But it raises a question. Will this new openness truly end Hollywood's obsession with speculation, or will the rumor machine simply find new ways to follow even the most candid stars? At the end of the day, Whether the stories we've explored are rumors, quiet truths, or proud public declarations, they all reveal something about the culture we live in. Hollywood has always been a mirror of society, sometimes ahead of its time, sometimes still clinging to outdated fears. What stands out is that authenticity, in whatever form it takes, carries incredible power. For some, that means bold announcements. For others, it's choosing privacy and letting the work speak. Both paths are valid. The real lesson for us as viewers is to move beyond speculation and recognize the humanity behind the headlines. Fame doesn't erase the need for dignity, respect, or the freedom to love openly. If we learn to celebrate people for who they are and not just for the roles they play, we build a culture where everyone, celebrity or not, feels safe to live authentically.